Good now, everybody, and welcome back to Faceless Labs. Evan and Alex here with another tutorial for you. Everyone in the crypto space always says, do your own research. DYOR in the comments, along with not financial advice, but what do they even mean? That's what we're going to tell you today. This is a process you can test, you can add to, take away from, do from yourself to actually do meaningful research on your own that will launch your research journey. Now, Alex, we were talking before the recording. Obviously, there's a little less you can do and there's a little more you can do, but this is kind of our foundational, bare basics, essentials. Yep. And so I'm going to kick it over to you after I say all the links you're going to need are in the comments, the description for this video, so that you can play along, follow with us step by step. And if you have a question at any time in this video, make a note of it, leave it in the comments for us. Alex, before we preview this method, what is it about doing research like this? Like, what's your thesis? What's your foundation? What's important to know and do? What's our North Star?
That's a great question. I would say for me, it's just not having to rely on anyone, particularly a content creator, to give you a buy signal, right? You want to be able to fact check them. You want to be able to make a determination for yourself whether or not what they're telling you is legit or if it's total BS. And that is why we do this. That is why they all say DYOR, do your own research. But there is an absolute dearth of content that is explaining exactly what that means and what DYOR is. Because I feel like if you just kind of throw that at someone who's maybe never looked into a coin or a token before, they're just going to Google the name and hope that something good comes up and kind of leave it at that. But there are very specific things you can do that will get you kicked off onto the right path to actually get the relevant information. So that's what we're going to do today.
Okay, so the resources below, we're going first, of course, to CoinGecko. So go ahead and put coingecko.com in. We're going to pull it up, but Alex, we're going to look at CoinGecko. We're going to check the Blockchain Explorer Etherscan. We're going to look at Dex Screener and Token Sniffer to check for scams. We're going to CoinGecko first. What is the token we're looking at today? And what do we got to do? Take it, man. I'm just here to listen and learn.
All right, well, let's pull this up. And today we are going to discuss, we're going to use Render as an example. I've been seeing a good deal of content lately about Render. And so in my mind, it's a really good place to start because there's a pretty good chance that you've seen somebody talking about it. So,
well, that's helpful then. I'd like to hear you talk about it. I'd like to form my own opinion about it, frankly.
Excellent. All right, Evan, can you see this well enough?
Boy, I can see it, but with my old eyes, I gotta click it on full screen. I gotta take my notes away. Oh, now it's nice and crystal clear.
No worries. We're also going to do this because I can't.
Oh, dark mode. Honestly, truly, mine defaults to light mode, but I appreciate dark mode so much.
Okay. Anyway, let's get into it a little bit. Let's talk about Render. So we are going to, there's a lot of information that we can get from the CoinGecko homepage, especially, or not the homepage, the profile page for every single one of these cryptos. We're going to focus here primarily on a couple specific things. I'll point out a few other things, but for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to limit the things we're checking for just so that you don't get super inundated with way too many things to read right off the bat if you've never done this before. If you're already ahead of us and you already know about CoinGecko, feel free to do your own thing.
And leave your best tip in the comments for everybody else, okay? We're trying to catch up. And Alex, just real quick, how did you get to this page? Because when you go to CoinGecko, you got to figure out how to get here. What's the magic sauce?
So we just hopped right over to coingecko.com, and it's worth noting that this show is not sponsored by CoinGecko or anyone that we're going to talk about today, but it absolutely could be. So CoinGecko, hook us up because we're going to do you a solid right here. Just in the search bar over here, I'm just going to type in Render, or if I know the token ticker, in this case RNDR, then I could do that as well. Excellent. But I'm going to spell it like Google. And I'm going to search it right here, and you'll notice it kind of gives you a bunch of stuff, but it's pretty clear right off the bat. This one is the right one, but there's a couple things you can do to make sure you're looking in the right place. So obviously here we can see appropriately sized market cap, the links that we would expect to see, all that good stuff we're going to cover right now.
Great.
So while we're here, the first thing that I want to check is this right here, market cap versus fully diluted valuation. Market cap can be calculated for yourself or any project, even if they don't publish it, by simply taking the current circulating supply, which you can find right here, and multiplying it by the current token price. That gives you the market cap. If you see that there is a difference between the market cap and the fully diluted valuation, what that tells you is that not every token is currently in circulation. which you can also see here, right? We've got the circulating supply, 384 million versus 532 million on the total supply. So this tells us there's about 150 million tokens that are waiting to come into circulation. That's not inherently a red flag by itself, but it's definitely something that we want to be aware of and something that we'll reference later. So that's step number one. You'll notice here, if you scroll down a little bit, that there's a nice pile of all of the links too, right here. And just as a side note, if you're using CoinGecko mobilely, because they do have an app, this is all arranged very similarly, except you'll notice that they have little scrollable tabs on the top that look kind of like this, but instead of it being overview, markets, news, etc., it's like overview, info,
you can kind of
marketplaces, stuff like that. So just to keep that in mind, if you're looking at this on mobile, it's going to be very similar, but it might be laid out a little bit differently. So,
Alex, you level 10 gecko, is that what that thing in the corner means?
Which thing? Where
that little thing in your bottom right corner there. I'm sorry to derail you, but looks like you're earning some rewards here.
Yeah, CoinGecko has a little like on-site rewards thing they call candy that you get every day that you check in, and then you can get discounts on their partners' products.
So an incentive to do your own research here. I love it. Okay, great.
A little bit.
Continue.
So down here underneath the info, this is where we're going to get the links to everything relevant. And we're going to go off of a lot of these today, actually. But the one thing that you might as well just add right now, because we're going to come back to it on a couple different moments, is the contract address. So right here, contract address, you'll see right here that this little logo tells us this is an Ethereum contract. And there's a little copy paste. So go ahead and just grab the copy paste and save that on your clipboard, because we're going to use it in a minute. And then the rest, what's up?
I said, great.
Okay.
I can't wait.
The rest of it right here is just their website, the blockchain explorers, any of the wallets that they recommend that they are supported by. So it looks like Ledger supports them. They have a ton of community links here, so you can use this to find all the social media stuff, kind of get a, vibe of the general community, the sentiment of the project, all that good stuff. And then, anything else relevant that they wanted to put up here.
Yeah.
So to recap, before we leave CoinGecko and go to our next step, market cap versus fully diluted valuation. This just lets us know whether or not the whole token supply is currently circulating. It's not. We're going to take note of that. And then we'll come right on here and make sure that we have all of the links that we might need. So moving right along, we're going to go to check out the Etherscan page, the blockchain explorer for this token.
Excellent. And while it loads, I want to say, these are the kind of things we would expect to see for most tokens you're going to hear about, you're going to learn about, you're going to want to research, but it is possible you're going to hear about, and that may or may not be a red flag that you see. They're so new, they don't have even a CoinGecko profile. But the most important thing is that you know how to verify the information that's there.
Yeah. That's a really good point, because one of the things we've talked about previously was trying to do some initial vetting on like a new meme coin or something like that.
Sure.
And you will definitely notice that if you try to look up, the newest Solana meme coin that just launched, that it's not going to have a CoinGecko page.
Solana Pepe. Yeah. No CoinGecko page.
No CoinGecko page. So anyway, I think we should all be looking at the Etherscan page right here. So again, there's a tremendous amount of information here. We have a previous video about reading a blockchain explorer and getting more information here. So we're not going to go through all of it, but I definitely encourage you to go check that video out, because
it's in this very same playlist. It's the last video.
Exactly. Thank you. Right here, you can see a little bit of corroborating information that we've got our max total supply. We've also then got our on-chain market cap and the circulating supply market cap. So on-chain is a different way of writing fully diluted valuation. This means that the tokens are created, but they are sitting somewhere else. They exist on-chain. And then this is the same number that we just saw from CoinGecko, circulating supply market cap. We're going to come down here, and right away, at least the information that I am looking for off of the Explorer this particular time is there seems to be a difference here in these token supplies, which we already noted. I want to know where that is, and I want to know, any other information that I could find about it to make myself feel a little bit better that it exists. So we're going to come down here and go straight to holders and just see what we can find.
And Alex, why is it that I'm going to be concerned that there might be a discrepancy? Like, what's the big deal if one wallet, for example, holds a lot of the tokens? Like, maybe somebody just really rich has it. Like, and what's the problem with that?
So off the bat, kind of like we said, this is not inherently a red flag. It's more, I don't like the term red flag as much for something like this. It's just something I want to be aware of. The downside would be that someone or some entity that holds a lot of the token may be able to add unwanted sell pressure to the market and suppress the price because they have a lot more of it than everyone else does. And they have enough of it to where they can kind of drive the market. So we would have concerns about potential market manipulation if someone had too much of it. So what we're doing here is trying to determine where all of the tokens that exist in this thing live, who has them, and if we should be concerned about that, or if we think that maybe there's less of a chance that they're going to, dump on everybody.
Makes sense.
So right off the bat here, what we've got is a wallet holding 27.76% of the entire supply of this token.
Which for context is a lot. That would be a flag to investigate further.
Definitely a lot. Again, I would encourage you to check out our other video on blockchain explorers, but right here, I can see something that sets aside a little bit of my concern, at least that this particular wallet holding it is under contract, which just means that there is a smart contract governing this wallet and what it can do. So it's likely that it can't just dump the supply on the market. But if we wanted to be sure, and we wanted to do even more sleuthing, we can follow this link to the page specifically for this wallet. And we can see all of its transfers. We can see that it is pretty much exclusively sending out, which, without knowing anything else right now, makes me think maybe this is some sort of supply wallet for staking or, yield farming or something like that in the render ecosystem.
Sure, or even team expenses, biz dev.
Yeah, and based kind of on how often these transfers are happening, because you can see here that they're not happening terribly often. And actually, even though there are only 79 total transactions, that kind of makes me think, okay, this probably isn't a staking protocol, because it looks like it's just sending, like, here's an interesting one. Looks like it sent a lot of this to Beeple 45 days ago, and then again 55 days before that. So Beeple's getting the
Beeple getting that render money.
So the cool thing about all of this is that even if you have no information before you walk into the Explorer, you can chase all of these links and go anywhere. Like, this is called Beeple, but how do we know that's actually him? We could follow this link and go and see and poke around and kind of do all of that digging. But since we came here specifically to poke at this contract, we could come right over here and actually read the contract, or we could just get the raw Solidity code for it. If you can read Solidity, awesome. You can stop right here and poke around and see what you think. If you can't, like me, what I would probably do with this is copy and paste at least a chunk of it and take it to ChatGPT or something like that and tell it what it's looking at and try to see if I can learn anything about it.
This is a Solidity contract for a token called Render. Can you tell me any red flags in the code? Could be your
exactly. Yeah. You could even, niche it down even harder and just say, like, I'm concerned about something that would allow for this to happen or that to happen or whatever. Do you see anything in this code that would make you think that's possible?
Yep, totally. Excellent.
The other pro tip, of course, is to make friends with someone who can read Solidity. And
just call your dev friends.
just call your dev friend. So anyway, I don't want to spend a ton of time on the Explorer because we have another video. We can definitely do more in the future if there's more interest in learning more about how these things work, because we're barely scratching the surface. This is really just to say that I would always check the Explorer for any token I was interested in, just to make sure that the information that I'm seeing on something like CoinGecko, for example, is actually accurate, because I'm relying on CoinGecko to present this to me truthfully. And I don't know that they are until I look at the Explorer and make sure that I'm looking at the right stuff.
We had an instance today on the show where we were copying a button and copying an address from another site, and there was sort of a discrepancy in where it was taking us, and we were confused about it. So we went to the Blockchain Explorer, and in a couple of seconds, we figured out what was happening. And it was not a problem. But the verification was really nice. To know how to verify information is what doing your research is all about.
Yeah, this is a very good point. Yeah, basically what we saw on CoinGecko was that there was one thing that was supposed to link somewhere and it accidentally linked somewhere else. And we found that out immediately by going to the Explorer.
So Alex, where are you going to take us next then?
Next, we are going to go over to another source that we have actually covered before, called Deck Screener.
Here we are, Deck Screener, but you'll notice we're coming to you from a totally different time. It's Evan and Alex in the future. We had a snafu with the last file, so we're re-recording this part. You shouldn't experience any disruption aside from our appearance.
If you've seen some of our content before, you might be more familiar with this screen, but obviously this is the Deck Screener profile for render. Now, just for continuity's sake, we are looking at the Ethereum version of render here. Of course, there was a recent proposal that moved the project over to Solana. So you'll notice if you look, most of the pairings that come up when you search for render are Solana-based pairings. We had to dig a little bit to get this one, but just for the sake of this video and the context, we're looking at the stuff that was on render because we're using Etherscan right now. We could do something else using SolScan. They function very similarly, slightly different display. They show information a little bit differently. And of course, there are some things that they show that are Solana specific that you won't see on Ethereum, like, you know, owner authority, update authority, addresses and stuff like that. So anyway, what we've got here, just as the, you know, Evan, I just realized that I don't have an ad this time. That's kind of nice.
Wow. I wonder if that's a top signal, man.
It's got to be something.
Oh my goodness. My dad told me about an ad he saw on Deck Screener. He sent me the website for like Harambe AI and he was like, should I buy it? I was like, no, don't buy it.
Thank you for asking. No.
So it's got a lot of the same information though that we've seen a couple other places. I see we've got, you know, market cap, we've got price. Is there anything different here that you want to draw our attention to though?
Not really. So until up top, no. You know, we've got solid, you know, big market cap. We've got a decent chunk of liquidity. Notice there's no lock here. I'm not.
And do notice that Deck Screener more prominently than any of the other services displays that liquidity number. That's like kind of our master metric we go to Deck Screener for, definitely. And it's the money in the pot. If you remember from one of our earlier videos, this is how much, 3.6 million you can withdraw. If you become a gajillionaire on paper, you can't take out more than this.
Correct. Yeah. You could have $10 million worth of render tokens, which is possible to hold. You wouldn't be able to sell it for $10 billion.
But this is like a decent chunk of liquidity. Like if I'm researching this token, I'm like, oh, great, $3.6 million. Nobody's probably going to tank the price based on, you know, some of the things we've looked at so far. That I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Is there still a risk present of something like that happening? Certainly. However, the higher the liquidity number goes, lower that risk goes. Generally is a good rule of thumb. Nothing is for sure. It's crypto. But we like to see a bigger number there. Definitely. Would much rather see that than a smaller number.
Yeah.
The other thing worth noting here is that if we come down a little bit, we've obviously got our contract addresses, we've got our pair address, and then we've got these audit scores. And now, Evan, if you were just digging around and you had no context and you just looked and you saw a pre-audit from GoPlus and Quick Intel and Token Sniffer, which is actually, it's pretty cool that they put all of these now. Back when we first started looking at Deck Screener, it was really only GoPlus, which is not the world's greatest pre-screener. But anyway, you see this score. Evan, what's the first thought that goes through your head?
Well, I see a lot of red flags and I'm thinking to myself, I better get some more coffee and maybe a couple more toothpicks, because if I'm going to dig into this, I need to pay attention. If this is just a token I pulled up like out of nowhere, I might just navigate away. But if you or Mac or somebody, you know, noteworthy was like, this is a really cool project, I'll check it out, I would dig deeper at this point.
Yeah, I think so. Really what I want to come out of this particular video here is that when you see something like this, it is worth clicking in to see why, because context matters. And that's really what we want to show.
Okay,
here.
so but before you click into it and we go over to Token Sniffer, can we do two more things here? Can we just explain the chart real quick, switch back and forth maybe between like the 1 second, 1 minute, so folks can see some of the different kind of trading views that go on here?
Sure. So let's just make the candles a little bit bigger here.
And when we say candles, we're just referring to those little green and red blips on the screen. The top line there is candles measuring the range of price. In this case, at the very top, he's got a little blue D highlighted. I can't get it with my finger. Every candle on the screen, green or red, is representing 1 day of activity. And the height of the candle, where it starts at the top, that's the highest the price has gone on that day. and the bottom of the candle is the lowest it went on that day. And then there's those candles at the bottom. Alex, what are those bottom level candles measuring?
Yep. So the ones down here along the bottom, these are volume candles. And if you wanted to get the volume number for something, you just pick a day. So here we've got our crosshair selecting this particular day right here, which happens to be the 9th of March. You can see there was $3.5 million worth of trade volume. That's buys and sells together. And it was a green day, meaning, like Evan just said, the price started at the bottom of this candle and it closed that time period at the top. If you change this, you can look at it by, so each now instead of days, each one of these is worth 4 hours, 1 hour, and you can go all the way down 5 minutes, etc. I mean, there's really no reason to look at stuff like this unless you are doing like a really specific day trading.
Yeah, no, and this is one of the reasons we use Dex Screener for the meme coin casino, because sometimes it comes down to the second. You want to see, is volume coming in or out? A token like this, it's been around for a minute. It's probably not as important. And oh my God, there it is at the top. Look, Harambe AI. Oh, don't click it. If you click it, do your own research and tell us why you would tell my dad not to look further into it.
So anyway, we've got what I would call, relatively decent volume, which doesn't seem too strange. Like I said, this is a big project. We're looking at a market cap in the billions. Which is certainly something noteworthy. So anyway, after we get our initials down here, you can expand and kind of get, a little bit of detail on all of these. And the one thing you'll notice here is that we're consistently, so Go Plus flagged a proxy contract, and then Quick Intel did the same thing, flagged proxy contract. And here they give us a little bit more context that there's a hidden owner and the ownership has not been renounced. All of these three things are related here. And I'm sure that if we clicked out and went to Token Sniffer, it's going to flag the exact same thing that Render here is using a proxy contract.
Well, then can we click into it in just a second? And I do want to look at one last thing here. I know I keep saying one more thing is let's look at the transactions on the bottom, because this is another kind of cool feature of the layout of Dex Screener, that if I was going to do my own research into the activity around a token, this makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, no, down here, so we can kind of separate these things out into a couple different categories too. So one of the things about Render, especially this pairing here, Render versus Wrapped ETH located on Uniswap, is that they obviously have a couple different liquidity pools. So there are more than one address providing liquidity to support trading in and out of this pool. That's one of the things you can do in the DeFi world to earn some reward. So you might have heard of staking. You can also provide liquidity, which in this case would be you own some Render tokens and you own some Wrapped ETH, and you take those two things and you sort of donate them to the cause, meaning you lend your ETH and your Render to the pool so that people have an easier time trading in and out. And as a reward, you earn some of the trading fees. That probably is another video, Evan, for another time, where we could kind of talk about like.
I would say don't fret too much about it, but for now, just know like it's a good signal to me that many people have an interest in opening more than one pool for this kind of asset. It's liquidity in different places. It's like roads to get to your favorite restaurant. It would really suck if there was only one way to get to your favorite restaurant, but look at all these different routes you can take to get there. Some of them might have higher or lower interest rates. And as you get a little more advanced navigating this kind of thing, providing or earning yield on liquidity just by, having and lending a token is one of the things we love about crypto. No bank needed.
For sure. And you can see here, we've got a large stack of holders. So this is kind of nice. This is some information that we could definitely confirm on chain using the Blockchain Explorer. I had a question earlier today, actually. Now that it's kind of cool, we're coming back to this because this is actually relevant. Someone asked me, I keep hearing people say on chain, what does that mean? Oh, yeah. And on chain is just kind of the Web3, I guess, slang term for online. So
on chain is the new online.
The example that I gave them is if I sent you $20 using Cash App, record of that transaction would be located online. You could look it up online. But you would have to use Cash App, and we'd have to rely on Cash App to provide us that information. If I sent you $20 worth of USDC, it would be located on chain. meaning that
Yeah,
anyone,
so it's like the distinction between Web 2 and Web 3. Web 2 is then 5 people own the whole internet, and Web 3 is the power flows to users like us at the edges.
100%.
Online, they own it. On chain, it's ours, baby.
So we could go on chain to the blockchain explorer right here and confirm that all of this is true. But given that they are linking us straight out, it's semi-safe to assume that it's probably accurate information. But it's good practice to confirm anyway. Come over here to top traders, some more stuff that we can confirm. You have the address of the person who made the trade. How much did they buy? How much did they sell? What was their profit?
Hey man, good for that wallet.
Yeah, I mean, some of these people are killing it. I mean, look at this. Someone 50K sold it for $250,000. There's a couple down here too. There was one, I think, yeah, one into 66. So definitely some hefty trades going on in this one. And all of these too, if you wanted to confirm, they give you the link right out here per transaction.
Will you go ahead and just click one of them just so we can see what happens?
For sure. So let's take the big guy here, number 1.
The big guy.
All right, so
check it out. Right back with the blockchain explorer.
Followed that link straight out to see. Now this wallet is holding a lot. We've got 527 Ether, and that's, you know, $1.75 million worth at current prices. A lot of tokens in this thing. $1 million worth of USDC. A lot of, let's see, we've got wrapped ETH. We've got a bunch of other projects. They've got 100 grand worth of Pepe. Injective, Polygon, Portal, Phantom, Covalent. So this makes me think this is, you know, probably not just a private person.
Yeah, not just a you and me kind of whale.
Based only on this, the fact that there are almost 70,000 transactions, it might be safe to assume, you know, and we could even see here this you could message this person, we could follow this address, we could start getting more and more information and details. You know, this one, it's not flagged. You'll notice this one is flagged as, you know, this is a known address for one of the Uniswap router wallets. This one is not. So, you know, who knows exactly who it is. We might be able to get a little bit closer the farther we dig, but whoever it is, they are moving a significant amount of money around. So
yeah. Well, let's take it back to Dex Screener and let's go back to that contract audit widget. And I'm going to do a wild transition where I actually throw it back to past Alex. Alex, in the past, what is it that we want to do here?
We definitely want to get a little bit of context because this is a nuanced score. So let's hop over to Token Sniffer. Now, you can follow that link directly from Dex Screener right here. Otherwise, you can just go to tokensniffer.com and up here on the search bar, again, not sponsored, but it should be, you can paste that contract address and pull up the page for the token right here. So here we are looking at this and we can see 20 out of 100 and we want to know why. And we're seeing this same thing pop up again, proxy contract. And the fact that they didn't renounce the ownership of the contract. So right away, we're like, okay, every single one of these pre-screening tools has flagged this as a problem. I probably need to learn a little bit more about a proxy contract. So that's how we're going to cap off. I'm going to explain this specifically, what this is and why, honestly, I would not be immediately concerned about this. And again, this is just a really good example of the nuanced take to what can present as a potentially big red flag.
Yeah.
And before we leave Token Sniffer here.
Yeah, we got to see the bubbles, baby.
We got to see the bubbles because
obviously
we love bubbles.
Woo, show me the bubbles.
So the bubble map is visualizing the token transfers between the top 100 wallets and between the top 100 holders and other wallets. Creator addresses are shown in orange. That's right here.
Beautiful.
Burn addresses in red. You can see one right there. Exchange addresses in cyan, and I'm not sure if it comes through, but this is cyan versus this in blue. I really wish they could have used a little bit different color for that. But anyway, and then general holders, you know, private wallets are here in blue. So get ready, because what you can do if you see anything in here like, man, this looks strange. What is this? You can click on it.
So many connections.
Where are we? We're right back.
Oh my God, we're back at the blockchain explorer.
We are back on the Explorer. And
it's
now
starting to feel familiar and comfortable now.
Right? Yeah. I mean, the more you do this, all of a sudden you're gonna be like, dude, this whole thing, I'm all over this Explorer.
Yeah, you're going to start out hating it and then you're going to love it, like an old friend, you know. It's great.
So right here, what I'm seeing is a ton of outgoing transfers, which really supports exactly what we saw here, right? That this one wallet is just sending to all of these different wallets, including an exchange right there. So again, come here. This supports what we're seeing. So now we know that the token sniffer readout of these bubbles is more likely to be accurate because we're confirming with that data here on the Blockchain Explorer. And we could chase any one of these. Any one of these is a link. This hash is a link to this transaction. This block will show us the entire block on the chain that this thing was validated on. Here is the token address to confirm that it is in fact legit render that's being traded here. All of that good stuff from confirming that it is indeed from this address we're looking at. Other stuff that this wallet is holding. So it's holding a bunch of render, $85 million worth. And it's also got a whole bunch of other stuff. So I want to see what else.
It's that People wallet.
Who knows? But it's doing a lot of sending. Every few minutes, it looks like it's sending pretty consistently. So anyway.
Now, are you going to look into it or can you spoil it? Do you happen to know? Can you tell me what this particular wallet is, whether it's like an exchange or if it happens to be a
This one's not an exchange. This one looks like a staking protocol to me.
A staking protocol. So that would explain
have to dig a little bit deeper. But if we came back here and we looked at this giant thing, which is an exchange wallet, and just wanted to see what it was, let's see if we can see who this is.
Oh yeah, look at all its outs to a very, like official, particular, specific addresses. Yep. Yeah.
And there we go. This is Binance. This is a Binance wallet.
Easy.
So that's all there is to it. And we could come over here and we could do this for any one of these, right? So it's kind of fun to click around in these. I personally like to do it just to make sure, that what I'm looking at checks out. And because every time you click on a bubble map for a different token, you're going to see a different arrangement of these things. And it's really nice to just kind of click in there. And then you start to put patterns together in your head. The next time you look at it, you're like, okay, this tracks. Like this kind of looks about right. This looks like about what I would expect. And you just start building up that muscle memory.
I honestly think that would be such a cute little NFT. And how cool would it be to have a visualization of, for example, the top 100 holders of Bitcoin every day for the next 10 years? Like that's a really cool infographic,
I could see it.
I could see it. So now that you've gone through the process with us, we've gone through CoinGecko, we've gone through Etherscan, we've gone through Dex Screener, gone through Token Sniffer. If you have questions, that's totally okay, because this is a basic bones interview style, the quick thing. You're jumping off, you're splashing. Alex, what do you kind of want to say as parting thoughts, words of wisdom, as people are typing their questions in the comments?
So I promised that I would at least give you the nutshell of what a proxy contract is.
Look at you, good teacher.
So in some crypto projects, proxy contracts can be used to make the project's life easier, to allow them to do stuff like future upgrades, security enhancements, future-proofing their project. The best way to think about what a proxy contract is imagine that the project is operating under one smart contract. And that is the contract that all of the users are seeing and operating in and messing with and talking to and sending stuff in and out of. If you needed to make a change to the protocol and that was your only one, you would have to make that change while everyone was doing stuff. And making the change might involve pulling something offline, which would interrupt your user's experience. So some projects will use a proxy contract, which is just a copy of the original contract. And that copy is the thing that everyone is actually interacting with and using. Some notable projects that use proxy contracts that you may not think about are the USDC stablecoin, DYDX, OpenSea, Augur. There's a bunch. And essentially what they do that for is just to make sure that if they need to do some upgrades or some tweaks, could be as simple as, upgrading the way something's working or changing a fee structure or whatever, security upgrades, enhancements, blah, blah, blah. They can do it without making everything else have to stop and interrupting the user experience.
Like opening another lane on the highway.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason we want to be aware of it is because there is a potential downside to using a proxy contract as well. you lose a little bit of transparency into the way that the thing works, because what you're looking at is not necessarily the version of the code being worked on. So if you, let's make an example here. If someone was able to get access to the contract, the original one, and they started trying to push a piece of malicious code to it and make a change that was going to a wallet trainer or something bad, we would not get as much warning potentially that was happening.
We're watching the proxy.
Because people might be watching the proxy.
This is like that scene in Ocean's 11 where they switch the video cameras and they're robbing the vault on the actual camera, and all we're seeing over here is like business as usual.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good one. So it is not inherently bad. It's not inherently good. You will notice that a lot of projects do it, and it really is just one of those things that you want to be aware of. And as you can see, you should be aware of it, so much so that all of those pre-audit things basically failed render just on the face that they have it. Now, it's worth noting that the nuance that's missing there is that they didn't look at the contract at all to make that determination. They just saw that it existed, and they immediately just wanted to, say, don't worry about it, don't look at it any further.
Sure. Yeah, different token checkers, they're kind of rigid, aren't they? And they all have their own kind of pet criteria that may or may not be a good fit for the particular project you're looking at.
Absolutely.
Now, we had said all these different points, but based on the research you did today, would you, if this was the kind of asset that interested you, continue to look? And where would you continue to look if you wanted to do research further? Maybe just give us that last little preview, and then I'll take us home.
Yeah, based on what I saw right here, without an opinion about render formed ahead of time, nothing that I saw here would be a deal breaker for me. And I would probably do my next step, which we'll get into in a future video, which would be trying to get a vibe check on the community and following them on socials and try to see what kind of stuff they post. Generally, how people are talking about the project on public forums or in private forums like Telegram, Discord, whatever. And then I would also just actually go to the website of the project. And now that I've determined, like, okay, I don't see anything that would deal break me from the investment as far as the blockchain portion is concerned, what does this project even do? Because nothing that we looked at today tells us what render even does or why the project exists or should the token exist. So that would probably be my next step, would be to actually go to the website, find the documentation, make sure they have good documentation, and start auditing for myself that way. This is a jumping off point. We went a little bit slow as we kind of pulled apart all of these different steps, but when you kind of get used to this sort of thing, that whole process that we just described over the last half hour, it's less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's a quick, basic, a toe dip, right? A toe dip.
Definitely.
Okay, so you're set. Now, next time you're tempted to comment, what do you think about render? Just do this for yourself and then bring it to the show. Leave it in a comment for us. If you enjoyed this video, if you stayed all the way to the end, then we mentioned it a couple times, but you need to check out the videos in our Web3 101 playlist. We've got great tutorials there, and we're adding more all the time. Let us know if there's not one that you want to see, because, I mean, am I right, Alex? We'll put it there.
Yep, we'll do one.
Absolutely. Be sure. Subscribe to the channel, and then find all the rest of our links at theriseuppmorningshow.com, because, you know, we're primarily live Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time on TikTok every week. You can come there live and ask us your questions. You can sign up for the free weekly newsletter that's got the best bullet points from our show. It's all happening at theriseuppmorningshow.com. And that's it. We're well met. Congratulations. You're doing your own research. Until next time, my friends, rise up.